At first light, Carnac does not look like a monument. It looks like the ground has started standing up. Rows of granite run over Breton ridges and down their sides, more than 3,000 surviving stones in all. And for a place this famous, the official answer is unusually blunt. Nobody can say with certainty why it exists. Carnac sits on the south coast of Brittany, where granite knolls, low wet ground, and a shifting prehistoric shoreline create a natural stage. UNESCO now treats it as a cultural landscape, not a single puzzle, built and rebuilt between roughly 5,000 and 2,300 BCE. Menhirs, dolmens, cairns, tumuli, engravings, and rare objects from distant places were set in relation to terrain and water. At Le Menec alone, 1,050 stones stretch for 950 meters toward an enclosure of 71 blocks, with the Géant du Menec possibly older than the alignment itself. For a long time, people wanted Carnac to be a machine, a calendar, an observatory. But the site's own guide now pushes back against the neatest theory. The alignments, it says, seem to have no link to the stars, sun, or moon. Instead, it offers something stranger, a site of passage, a border between two spaces, two worlds. That reading fits the land. The enclosures often sit on small hillocks, and the lines run down the slopes. Stand between them and the enclosure seems to draw nearer than it is. Less like a diagram, more like an approach. In autumn 2020, before a 7,000 square meter business park was built at nearby Plasker, archaeologists carried out a rescue excavation and produced 49 radiocarbon dates. What emerged was not one act of construction, but centuries of revision. An early monumental tomb dates to about 4720 BC. Later came standing stones in several phases, and cooking pits filled with charred stones, between about 4680 and 4250 BC. The site overlooked the sea. In the 5th millennium BC, when sea level was lower, the highest point was visible from offshore, and the stones were visible from the water. Carnac was not hidden. It was staged. That matters because purpose here may have been plural from the start. Burial, procession, feasting, memory, boundary. At Plasker, foundations of standing stones ringed a mound while cooking pits burned nearby. Elsewhere in the complex, alignments were raised over older monuments whose funerary role had already faded. The place kept being revised, not abandoned. A long architectural argument in stone. Later centuries kept arguing too. In 1764, the Comte de Caylus wrote that the stones were so ancient that even Roman times had already forgotten them. Others preferred Celts, Druids, temples, anything with a label. Prosper Mérimée passed through in 1835 and took notes. Flaubert was less impressed. In 1847, he and Maxime Ducamp looked at the megaliths and muttered that they were just big stones. They are the least interesting thing about Carnac. Folklore did not merely decorate the site, it helped preserve it. Since the 17th century, locals told of Saint Corneille fleeing pagan pursuers and turning them into menhirs at the shore. Another legend claimed the menhir of Crefol was once a rich and fickle young man, petrified by God, his soul condemned to circle the stone forever. Archaeology inherited a landscape that myth had already marked as dangerous and meaningful. Modern preservation had to become literal. Quarry marks show stones were reused in buildings and low walls. Between 1880 and 1890, many were removed. In the 1920s and 30s, Zachary Larouzic marked recovered stones with reddish mortar tablets so they could be identified after re-erection. German occupation excavations at Kurliskan in 1941 and 42 were the last major digs on the alignments themselves. By 1991 to 1993, the state fenced the site because visitors were wearing down the archaeological soil beneath the grass. And that is why Carnac still matters. At Stonehenge, astronomical meaning remains part of the official conversation. Carnac resists that tidy destiny. Nearby Breton sites such as Bells and Lochmariacher show the same culture breaking, reusing, and reassigning stones to new monuments. Meaning moved, function shifted, Memory was rebuilt in place. Carnac survives because it was never one thing, not temple, not calendar. A field of memory on the edge of land and sea, reminding us that prehistory did not leave us a single answer. It left us a landscape designed to be crossed. If you liked what you watched, please like and subscribe. We post interesting and crazy stories from throughout history every Wednesday and Saturday. Yesterday's craziness? Because yesterday was crazy too.